Vaughan adjusted his collar in the reflection of the restaurant's dark window and then scanned the scene inside. Low lighting, polished marble tables, hushed conversations spoken in several languages. Posat was one of the more exclusive spots in Dubrovnik, catering only to those who could afford the crazy prices. He liked it for exactly that reason. The girl he had come to see was already sitting at the table, flicking through the messages on her phone. He was late, but he didn't care. That was on brand too. People waited for him and not the other way around. It had been true for Alex Smith, the investor he'd just met, and it was especially true for women. You couldn't let them think they were equals. Much better to make sure they knew their place in things right at the start and save the education that would otherwise have to be done later. Recruitment was one of Vaughan's strengths. Some girls were easy, just needing a little teasing and money for the airfare, while others took more effort. Vaughan preferred the path of least resistance, but sometimes, like now, playing a longer game was worth it. Tonight would be the culmination of days of back-and-forth messaging. Amélie Dubois, a name that rolled off his tongue and just sounded sophisticated, looked as if she would justify the effort. She was beautiful, that much was obvious, but Vaughan had plenty of beautiful women chasing after him. What made Amélie different was the mysterious allure he couldn't quite figure out. She was French, lived in Tunisia, and said she was a model. She kept the details vague, and Vaughan liked that. She wasn't desperate, which only intrigued him more. More of a challenge, perhaps, more of a chase. He'd played it cool at first, making her feel like she had to work for his attention. He'd make sure it ended up the same way as the others, with her on her back in one of the studios making money for him, but he'd have fun getting her there. He stepped through the door. The maitre d' greeted him by name and leading him to the table. Vaughan appreciated the way heads turned when he entered a room. He liked that people noticed. They saw a man in a crisp, tailored suit, a man who always looked like he belonged somewhere important. Amélie would notice that too. "Good evening," he said. She looked up. "Callum?" "That's right." He sat down, making sure his Rolex caught the dim light as he rested his hand on the table. She was more stunning in person than in the carefully curated photos she'd sent him. Vaughan noted her narrow hips, the way her dress hugged her frame, not too tight, just right, classy. She wore a black dress that left enough to the imagination, and her blonde hair was swept back, revealing a face that was both striking and mysterious.